Hi there, this is Nompendulo Shabangu, and I am really excited for today's installment of Business Unearthed. You know, we talk all things business, we talk all things women, we talk about the various supports that exist for us as women in business. And today's guest is an absolutely lovely lady, as you can see. And you know what, I usually say that I don't like to take the shine away from someone because, you know, there's so much more to a person than what we know about them. And so my guest today is Ncinci, and that's all I'll tell you about her. She'll go more into detail and tell us just some more about herself. Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great stuff. My name is Ncinci. Tota, all my full names go like this. Ncinci Moitsadi Nomahlubi Motsemme. Yeah, I'm hoping to change the Motsemme part when I'm taken in by my now fiance to become his wife. Even though I keep saying we should just go life partner. I don't know about marriage.
Well, that's very interesting, and I like that quite a bit, that you're also introducing the aspect of relationships, because as businesswomen we also do have relationships, various relationships, wife, mother, friend, sister, and all of that. So it's really catering to the whole businesswoman.
Exactly.
Yes, I love that. So I actually got excited when you talked about, is it Nomahlubi?
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean?
Nomahlubi is mother of the Klubis. My father's tribe, Kosa, is the Klubis, and Noma means mom, mama. So that's basically who I am. Oh. If I was ever to go back and take my roots, Mama will be back to the Klubi tribe. Yes.
I love it. All right, and so we're here to talk about Kwa Ga Ncinci primarily. So can you tell me, what is Kwa Ga Ncinci, the inspiration behind it?
Okay. Kwa Ga Ncinci is about food, right? But I can't even say the origin of the food or anything like that comes from the time when we established Kwa Ga Ncinci.
Okay.
Kwa Ga Ncinci was established in 2014 in May. But I have been cooking since I was a little girl, and I didn't even know that it actually will turn into something that was bigger. I had tried it earlier in my 20s, maybe from about 23, 24 or so, but it just didn't work out because I was cooking different food.
Okay.
I mean, at that time, nobody could understand what I meant by, if I was to make, I don't know, like an ultimate sandwich. It was food that was not very popular at our time when I started cooking. I mean, like maybe say cooking for people. There's this place at Game City, actually, there's a car wash there. It's got a terrace, a long white terrace, and I used to cook and sell food from at the top there when I was about 24, 25. I called it the Terrace Cafe. And the kind of food that I cooked was so different from what was being sold on the street already. Your palechi, your beef stew, fried chicken, butternut and beetroot. So I was coming in with like lasagnas and white. And my target market, honestly, was the combi guys who were always packed up there, because for me it was the volume of people. I didn't know much about food then, so when I thought about cooking, I didn't even think that people who were like in offices or wherever would actually come out like that. I was thinking of foot traffic. Whoever is passing around can see me and come and eat. So when people didn't receive the food as well, it was just like,
what's happening?
What's happening? I've only put mushrooms in here. They would be like, what's saying? So it was just like, what's going on? And it really hurt my feelings for quite a long time. I remember I had this government job for a week, and I was cooking for like 15 people. It was my first government tender. I tried everything I could. The food that I cooked, the people complained every day. And I remember on the last day, I thought, okay, what can I do here? Now, my mom's caretaker, who's been with us since I was since I was a kid, cooks like normal home food.
Yeah.
So I asked her, dude, can you help me out here? I can just cook this last Friday meal at least. And what she did was hook them up with some oxtail and madombi, Setswana style. And they loved it. that was the only one day that it made sense for all of the other days. So because of that, I felt like my style of cooking was not received very well.
Okay.
So I shied away from it, and I just stopped. You know, I just stopped, and I thought, okay, my career path, my mom was right, because I had been stressing her all my life about, no, I shouldn't have gone to varsity to go and study marketing. Hey, I should have gone to varsity to go and do, you know, culinary. And it had been always a fight between us. So, Kante, what's with you and going to school to learn how to cook? People are out there becoming doctors and lawyers and what.
And here you are, just...
So I went on to do the course at Monash, and you know, it still wasn't satisfying to me. So when I went back to do the food and it didn't work, I thought, I guess my mom was right. You know, this is not something that I should be doing. Because also my prices were a bit exorbitant, because I was cooking with real food, like, you know, stuff.
Putting your heart into it, and you want people to be able to appreciate the value.
Exactly. So I let that go from 2006, I think, until I started again in 2014.
So it just wouldn't let you go.
It wouldn't let me go.
Yeah.
And this time, the way God forced it back into my life, it was just like under duress.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I had, you know, this marketing company that we had come up with from school. You know, I had a business partner, this, that. You know, it seemed well. We had an office at Kali Muse. Things were going well, you know, but I guess when something is not yours, it's not yours. So whatever the situation, you will always be pulled out of it. And unfortunately with this one, the partners, we were not meant for each other.
Okay.
So when I left, I was just like, ugh, I'm taking this laptop
Yeah.
and I'm going to go and open a school of entrepreneurs so that I can teach other children, you know, how to deal with how to be an entrepreneur and stuff. But still, that didn't work out. It still forced me to say, okay, what is it that I do, that I can do to put money in my hands so I could, you know, live.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, now that's it. When you walk out, when you storm off a job or your own business, that means your income stops.
Yes.
When income stops, it stops on everything.
That's
so
true.
the kids, the what, everything, you know. So it was just like, okay, now what am I going to do? And it's like, okay, I know how to cook.
Yeah.
Maybe if I could just, you know,
go back to my first love.
let me just cook and have people come through. So that's how basically I came back, and that's how Kwa Ga Ncinci was really born.
That's beautiful. And I've been to your place. When it was still that side by Maun, that Maun Road. It was really, I remember I had some really good oxtail. Oh my gosh. You know, and then I'm here to visit this side because I've been out of Maun for about 4 years now. So I'm here to be this side. But it's a very beautiful place, and it's a very beautiful story that you have to share. And, you know, one of the things that I've realized is that in as much as sometimes we tend to take detours, we just kind of always end up where we're supposed to, right?
You know?
And so, and nothing really goes to waste, you know. So you did your marketing course. Do you feel that it has enhanced you as a business person in any way?
Oh, definitely. I mean, nobody had ever, you know, when Kwa Ga Ncinci now started, I realized that, you know, we needed like a different angle to let people know about my food. There had to be people like me, because on the internet it was already evident. People were, you know, the chefs were showing up. They were cooking food like me, you know. And I was just like, but guys, what's this? I've been doing this, and now all of a sudden this guy's called it this, and it's, you know, it's... So I thought, okay, fine. How can we get it out to the people? And luckily for me, to be quite honest, the circle of friends that I had at that time were very influential in their own right. So it was when Kwa Ga Ncinci was born, it was able to just like catch fire quickly because of the people who surrounded me. Yeah. You know, I could name a lot of people. Some are head of marketings and banks. Some are, you know, DJs. Some are artists. Some, you know, so it's like it all kind of worked together, because the food is more of a pop culture thing that has to do with, you know, young living and fresh and, you know, creative and out of the box and all of that stuff. So it was received that beautifully by people because of, honestly, the people that surrounded me, and they were able to just, you know, spread it. Yeah.
I love that. So can we talk about, you know, just an honest an honest conversation about challenges as a businesswoman, about challenges in your field, because I'm thinking, there's probably somebody sitting at home and saying, I really want to pursue this as well. And your field, a lot of times, is mixed in with and even just talking about yourself, passion, right, and purpose. But then there also has to be the business side of things where, it has to make a profit. You have to pay your employees and. And you're like, all I wanted to do was just to feed people.
I know,
and
right?
make a profit, right? And so I know that there are specific challenges to the food industry. And so what have you found those to be?
Honestly, it comes from the individuals.
Okay.
Yes. The challenges of our industry honestly comes from the individuals, from the people who actually buy. You see what I mean? If we are so used to a 25 pula plate in Botswana, it doesn't matter what it is outside. And the other day I actually complained. I was in Gabs and I went to those ladies who do braai meat, Old Lobatse. They had a beautiful fried rice. It had all veggies inside. They had, in the plate, I had chakalak, I had coleslaw, I had morojo, I had, I can't remember the fourth salad, and then I had a big steak like that, and I had wors.
Yeah.
And they sold it to me at 35 pula.
Wow.
And I was angry. I was saying to them, what is this? You know what I mean? You can't sell me this plate at 35 pula, because whatever the situation, if you have a meal like this at Avani or at a nice other popular restaurant in the CBD, that plate is 200 pula plus. You understand? So the fact that as the buying power, we do not want to realize that there has to be production, there has to be, profit. Then we don't get to sell the food according to what it's worth.
Yeah.
How many chef celebrities are there outside of Botswana? You understand what I mean? Because they're recognizable. If you're cooking good food and you're selling it at a nice price, you're very recognizable.
Yeah.
That means your career can go beyond anything else. Now with us, we always have to be price negotiating, this, that, and eventually, even when when your best doesn't come out, nobody says, but I paid 25 pula, you know, actually, and this job that she's giving me is for this much. So ultimately, money is the biggest challenge. If the industry could be recognized as we are the feeders of the nation, and very, very important to be seen as extraordinary people. I mean, we don't sleep.
Yeah.
I'm
getting chills as you're saying feeders of the people.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's
we
true.
don't sleep. We wake up in the morning, we sleep late at night, you're tired. It affects your relationship with your kids, your man, your mom, your friends, everything.
Yeah.
So when you charge somebody and say, my plate is 150 pula for 2 meats, 2 starches, and 2 salads, and they say to you, that's too much.
Yeah.
Then you're just like, but you don't even understand the sacrifices that I have to go through to actually produce that. Because I think also in our country, we haven't looked at business on an individuality of, this is the food industry, this is that industry, this is that.
Yeah.
Everything is taken as business.
Yes.
But there are some businesses that can operate without this kind of sacrifice. There's many. But with this one, like you're saying, the passion also has to be there.
Yeah.
Hard. Otherwise, then you are doing it for business.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for that. Those are definitely things worth considering. And also, there are challenges everywhere, whether you're working a 9 to 5 or you're running a business, but I think it's very good for people to actually have a realistic view and understanding of what it entails. And what would you say keeps you going? You talked about how all of these other factors of our lives are affected, and truthfully speaking, regardless of which industry you're in, it's going to cause a ripple effect, you know. Yeah, so where do you get the strength from? Who supports you?
I think, like I said before, God won't let you shy away from what you need to do.
Yeah.
You gotta do it. And to be quite honest, for me, when it came to building from 2014, I I mean, I had support of my friends and the people that were working around me, but at the end of the day, when I get home and I have to face the debt of this, that, I was alone. You know what I mean? I was literally like, if I'm losing the house because I've got no rent, I was alone. If this is happening because of this, I was alone. But the support of like getting the business out there was there. That nobody must ever, I can never take it away from the people who were with me. But dealing with everything, if I had to cry, it was for me, you know, until 2019.
Okay.
You know, when through the biggest tears of all, I had just gone through losing another restaurant. You know, because it's also not easy. It's not cheap to open your own local restaurant. And we're not talking about your liquorist, you know, well, like a restaurant where people can come in, what we see on TV. If you're not coming from a wealthy background, putting money into something like that is just, it's hectic. So I had just come from yet another loss. And I was thinking, how am I going to go through this? But then I met somebody. Okay. And for the first time, it would be like, what are you going to do? Yeah. You know, for the first time, I had somebody to share that load with. And that's where the support is or was coming from, and it still is. And I'm very happy with my progression with that. I'm able to now handle things a bit more because I have somebody else. To be quite honest, I think, I don't know, if I had still been alone, it would have been hard, you know. I was telling you also earlier about another aspect of my life that I've never actually really shared with people. And that was, everybody knows that I'm a single mom. Okay. I don't even think anybody knows who my baby daddy is. You know, but I come from being married before. Okay. You know, and it didn't end very beautifully. And it's, you know, it's still stretching to be something that is very stressful. Yeah. So I feel like, had I not found somebody else to give me hope and love again, it would have been a bit more difficult for me to have still been pushing, you know, that kind of strength. Because in the midst of all of that, all of those transitions and relationships, you're still having to provide, you're still having to, you know, keep the dream alive and the flame alive and the hope alive. So that was one big miracle. Yeah, there's this thing I used to say to a friend of mine that, you know, my biggest fear is being that girl who almost made it. So it's like, hey, she had it going on ways. She was really there. What happened? And I think also that's another thing that keeps me going. And the fact that we can't leave the country like this. The country needs a wake-up call to say, Rabatswana, we can also do something for ourselves, you know. There can also be a food brand that can leave the Botswana borders to go and be seen anywhere and everywhere. You know, because even right now, the challenge is very great in getting people to just change the mindset about coming to eat at our spot. You know, we run a restaurant in New Mall in Maun, and we, instead of it being a craze for our local people to say this is a black young girl from Botswana, and you know, it's just like, but go semane chicken 20 pula, you know. And it's like, I understand that those guys are there. One, they've been there for a long time. They have the ability to drop prices as much as they can because it's not they're not relying on the one store. They're relying on 100 other stores around the world. Do you understand? So if a standard price of, say, 40 pula is for 3 pieces of chicken, chips, salad, and a drink for them, it makes sense. For me, it can't. I will forever stay in the one place if I don't do anything about, you know, getting more money to put back into the restaurant. Up until I have more stores around the country or around the world as we plan, then that's when we can, you know. So first and foremost, the word support, people need to stop because then that's where it ends. It's like your product is not something that's great. You know what I mean? It's just people are just buying it because, you know. So it's very challenging to get into a space where you have to change the mindset of people. But best believe I'm very patient because I know the food is really good and I know it's what I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
So all things will work towards the greater good of it.
I love that. I love that so much. And, that is an ongoing conversation just about, support Black businesses, support local businesses. And I love that it's coming from a business person, a businesswoman who's saying, you know what, my product is actually good enough. And not a lot of people can actually stand behind that, where if I were to ask you, would you eat at your restaurant daily?
I do.
You see, and that it's good. As someone who has been in the field, in the industry, who's been cooking since time immemorial, the fact that you're able to stand behind it and say, try me, try me. I love that. Do you feel that there are ways that even just within the food industry, because like you said, that there is a need to just really recognize that these industries are different. How can people within this food industry get it to where it needs to be, and how can they support one another?
Unity. It's always been a thing everywhere. That's why you have unions. You know what I mean? The painful thing about being a chef and not a chef, as you can see, my jacket, this is my chef jacket, but it's not white.
Yeah.
Doesn't have all of those stars and the stripes and you understand what I mean. That means I did not go to culinary school to learn how to cook. So when I'm seen or recognized out here, I'm seen as a businesswoman and a cook, and not necessarily somebody who has the knowledge of food somehow. You see what I mean? So it's difficult to get people together who are outside of that. Right now in Botswana, there's what we call a chef association. Okay. Those guys are doing great.
Yeah.
They are together because there's like a form of unity together. Now with us as say foodies or cooks or people
self-taught.
Yeah, we are all so creative. It's very hard to put together people who are like that to say, let's go in for one mission. You know what I mean? It eventually but if you come back stronger, then you are able to say to people, look, this is what I've gone through. I've come back from here. I've got a restaurant, it's chilling. I've got this food brand. I'm freezing food, I'm putting it there. I'm saying to you, it can work. Let's come together. I think people just believe in things that are tangible for people to come together. So the unity will come as the industry goes itself I'm proud to see, even on Facebook and everywhere else right now, there are a lot of people who are starting to cook the food that we were afraid to cook back in the day.
That's true.
To do events the way that we were afraid to do back in the day. So if we could just get together and say, how can we push this to become an industry where we can work together? We've tried, even in Maun, to try and work with Black people who are of the same caliber as we, but there's always a problem. At the end of it, there's always a problem. There's no unity. Yeah.
So it's not all gloom and doom, I believe. And as you said that there are things that keep you going, and I'd like to believe that there are certain highlights maybe that you have experienced within the business thus far that have made you feel like, you know what, girl, you got this, let's keep going. So what are some of those highlights that you have experienced, either as a businesswoman or even through your business?
This is a highlight.
Okay.
For somebody to actually say to you, come, I want to hear about you, it means you are doing something.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing anything, then, you wouldn't have called me here. So it's always, I think, I actually didn't even realize that until this weekend when somebody just kept on going on about, you do good, you're great, what, and I didn't take it into account but honestly, you unzu pusha, So I could say the highlight is that the brand is 9 years old. Whatever the situation, I was able to stick with it for 9 years. It was bad, it was good, but I was able to stick with it. And I'm happy to say that at least in every country, not every, but maybe 75% of the world, there's somebody who's had my food from a certain, a certain place. So I'm happy for that. The coming to Maun also has exposed us to a lot more global people. And that's my biggest achievement. I like that. When people who are out of my country come and say, yeah, but this food is really good, then it does give me that kind of validation. So that's a big up for me.
And I like that, you know, it wasn't just someone saying, you know, I need to make money and I'm just going to go and set up shop, and you're not in it for the long haul, you know, because I think people really miss that a lot as well, that you've put in so many years, you know, even just the trial and error, it's all a part of the story. You know, people talk about how an overnight success takes about 10 years in the making. You know, you're there and someone will be saying, this is an overnight success, she just came. They don't know that you were at the selling to the taxi drivers in Gaborone.
I think that's another part that people, like I said, people don't know that I tried in my 20s. It's just something that's we've worked. The money is really important. I mean, you can't do anything without money. Answers all. It's not everything, but it answers all. So it's quite difficult to keep going when you don't have. Especially when you are even dealing, like I said, with raising kids, with being the firstborn at home. There's so much dynamics, especially at home again, like mother, siblings, and all of that stuff that contribute to who you are and how you handle issues just in your life, you know. So it's very important for you to be able to afford, especially our firstborn. You have to be able to afford to take care of the family. And if you're not able to do that, wow. Yeah. The pain, the stress, the pressure of it is just it's you know. So I even wondered a few weeks ago, is this all worth it? Really? Wow. Should I maybe just go and find a job? Like get it? Is it going to someday become?
Every entrepreneur ever.
Exactly.
That's what one of my friends once told me.
Yeah, like it gets to a point where now you are looking so ridiculous to everybody. It's like, hey, girl, what's going on? Even though, I mean, when I walk into the restaurant right now, I'm like, whew, this place is nice. Wow. You know, but I can't recognize it for what it is, you know, because it's not giving me back what it should in my pocket for me to be able to take care of everything else. Yeah. You know, so it's hard when you're in it to recognize it. So it's important for us to listen to other people's voices.
Well, that was a very beautiful installment with the lovely Ncinci. Please do go check out her social media. It's called Kwa Ga Ncinci. When you are in Maun, that is the place to be. Thank you so much. We hope that you enjoyed this installment. We'll see you again next time.